Hi, the Band Batch is back to discuss the Acolyte episode 4. We have to watch it first, but before that, we have a little game. Ender, back onto you.
Onto me. Okay. We got these light side or dark side Oreo cookies, and everybody has predicted what they think the flavors are or colors, I guess.
Yeah, so I predict that the Oreo packet number 1 will be dark side, and the second one will be light side.
And Christina, I think you have the same.
I believe that is what I said, yes.
The same thing.
So you all said dark, light. I say light side, dark side. So number 1 is light, number 2 is dark.
I felt the same presence as James, so I went with that answer as well.
And Nabisco execs that are watching this channel, we're open to endorsements and sponsorships. Okay.
We'll do openings, we'll do unboxings, whatever you need.
Yes.
And I guessed light side.
Ooh.
I think they're all blue.
Woof.
All right.
Dabba-dee-dabba-da.
So instead of revealing this after we watch the episode, Ender wants to eat Oreos right now. So
Throw me under the bus.
So
we're actually just going to open them now,
And
do the reveal.
Just a meta-analysis. There's only 4 possibilities that it could be,
Mm-hmm.
right? It could be like light than light than dark than light, or dark than dark, and nobody guessed dark. Okay.
Right. So we could all be wrong.
So we could all be wrong, which is there's a 25% chance that we're all wrong. Okay?
Which means that we have a low midichlorian count.
Yes.
Collectively.
Collectively, you should just turn this video off.
Yeah, we
shouldn't listen.
Yeah,
we can't predict anything.
The power of many fails us.
Failed
Yeah.
us. That's correct.
For anybody who's familiar with the show, they know our predictions can be wild.
Bad.
You know that, and you know that I've been spot on for every possible prediction I've made. So
All right, drum roll.
Everyone.
everyone.
All right. Let's
All right,
see.
here's-
Power of 1.
Here's the power of 1.
The power of
All right.
one.
Why don't you go up to the camera?
If it's dark,
I will
then
narrate
that
for you.
That cuts out the three light siders here.
Dark side.
Dark side, number 1. Okay, so we're...
So already Ender, me, and Justin are wrong. Okay, so
All
this
right.
is down to whether Xanthe and Christina are correct.
What is the power
or
of
if
2? Tell us.
None of us are correct.
The power of 2.
2, 2, 2, 2.
Oh! Good night, everybody.
Oh,
This has been
man.
fun.
I almost guessed that.
So we are all
Okay,
wrong.
so we're all wrong.
But is it? Does
But
it
we're the
maybe
most right.
But does it maybe say something that as a group we all completely avoided the right answer? Like there's something to be said. Like it's harder when you take like the SAT to get every question wrong.
So
than it
actually,
is
we beat
to-
all the odds. We beat
Yeah,
more odds.
Maybe we're just so attuned that
The
we
Force
knew
is
to
telling us
avoid-
something.
And by the way, it's the answer was 2 dark side cookies, so we all knew to stay away. Like we all knew like let's stay away from the
Okay.
dark side.
No.
Let's watch the episode.
All right.
Okay, so we just watched episode 4.
Day. Entitled Day.
Oh, day. Okay.
Interesting.
Destiny.
Day.
Day.
They kind of abandoned the
Duel.
dual slash. What do you call it?
Naming convention.
Yeah.
They didn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Maybe it'll be like they switch off every 2.
Is there do you think there's a particular thematic reason why they did? My theory last week of why they abandoned it is because Osha and May were together, and their journey could be both summarized by Destiny as opposed to number 1 and 2.
Right.
They had like revenge and justice, and then number 1 was what again?
Was
Dark.
Lost Found.
Lost found.
Lost Found. So that references one of them was lost, one of them was found. The second one of them was seeking revenge, the other one was seeking justice. So I don't know. I mean, this is just literally.
And this one happened during the day.
This one happened during the
It was
day.
fine. It was good.
So.
well, I actually assume that the next episode will be called Night.
Right.
That's my guess.
Interesting. Okay.
But we'll never get to Destiny. We'll be the
Perhaps.
Well, no,
Fate
we-
episode, or
We'll do.
We're gonna
Ori-
have the Rashomon version.
Free will
We'll,
episode.
yeah, we'll do Origin.
Origin.
next. and then we'll do a chiasmus on our way back out. We'll do flipping each of the
Yes,
first
the last one
episodes.
will be like
Got it.
found
lost.
Okay, that makes sense.
I
Okay.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna do
Classic
that.
form.
Search, destroy. I don't know.
Okay, so the sound that happened at the end of that episode, I think it was too forceful. I don't know.
The
big-
Which-
force sound?
Yeah, that.
That big giant thing that knocked like 7
Jedi?
Jedi on their feet
Yeah.
single-handedly.
What do you think of that
Too
sound?
forceful. Sorry, that's great.
I don't know, man. I thought it was appropriate. You thought it was like felt like too much like a bomb or something like that.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. It just, my instinct, like maybe when I rewatch, it'll feel appropriate, but just it instinctively felt too aggressive.
Too aggressive.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the last episode we were introduced.
And I didn't mind it when the witches were doing it because that felt like just different kind of.
Right, exactly. I was going to say it's interesting because when they were doing demonstrations of the Force, the thread, as they were calling it, their Force sounds, I went back and listened and really paid attention to that spot, were incredibly aggressive. Like there is much more to that sound design than there's been to, I want to say, most Force sounds in the past. Usually, we hear Force sounds to be like very subwoofy heavy. It's very hollow in a way, and it's more kind of like encompassing. It's more something. It's a funny description. More something you feel than you actually hear. It's more of a presence,
Yeah.
and they do a really great job with that on the sound design. Where this feels like a power, without using the word force. I'm not like forceful, but like it feels like aggressive. Really, really aggressive.
I think the word aggressive might actually be a bit dramatic to use for what it is. To me, it's just more body in it than we're used to seeing. More substance than we're used to hearing. Sorry.
Totally.
It also is
totally.
dark side stuff. So
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, and I also wonder if like so the fighting styles with lightsabers are different across
Totally.
the
generations.
well, and not just generations, but like the way that the physics seem to work for lightsabers also varies from entry to entry in the
Yes.
saga.
Totally.
And I wonder if this is just expanding the allowable range of the expression of the Force.
Totally.
Like it'd be one thing if this is like the new direction that they're taking the sound design for the Force, but it might be that this is just it feels more appropriate to the more martial arts movie fighting that they're doing for this
Totally.
for this series. Maybe this feels more right
And-
to the filmmakers.
And what Xanthe is saying is too, it's such a dark version of the Force that it wouldn't surprise me then to have something a lot more full of body, more con fuerza kind of a thing, you know. That makes sense to me, but it is like very different than what we have heard, even if it is like expanding upon what we can now do, like what we can say is now possible with that sound design. I don't know. It's interesting. It's very interesting to hear that.
Yeah, it's definitely new.
I thought it was effective to pair the audio with the visual of the cloud of dust that was moved by the Jedi being pushed away.
Yeah.
Although I noticed that when Osha was just flung away that's the verb I would use there, was flung.
Yeah.
He was like,
Cool. Other thoughts about this episode?
Well, but it's cool too, because so staying with this scene, we're kind of specifically talking about the ending scene here when there's a dark master. Do we have a name for the master yet?
I don't think so.
Just this
The
dark-
Master.
The master, the maestro, the what's the other doctor who?
It's Leonard
The master, right? Yeah,
It's the master,
yeah. When May discovers Wookiee Jedi
Kelnaka.
Kelnaka. I was going to say Callahan. Kelnaka. And she realizes that her master is here. Everything went dark on the screen. Like everything, there's a real shadow kind of appeared, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it was also partly the sunset happening, but there was a shadow, and she almost heard a rumble. I heard a rumble in that thing, and now I'm curious to go back to listen to it with headphones or with a subwoofer kind of a thing, and hear if that's like, because that's really cool, clever sound design then.
Right.
Really just like putting that low frequency in there. So again, something you feel more than you hear. And now it's almost like giving the audience the ability of like force sensitivity, of to being like, what's that behind me kind of a thing. Like we sense something far before we see it.
That was a really effective scene from a horror perspective. I mean, my heart was racing. I was definitely on edge 100%. And
at the end there?
Yes. And it occurs to me that the action being used by the Force was for sure an aggressive action, even though I kind of think it was just a bodied sound. But like the soundtrack was really aggressive.
Yeah.
It like the overall feeling of that scene was like, you will feel afraid. Or like, you know, it was very strong. It was very unyielding.
It used a motif that I'm not sure what to name yet, but it sounded like something from Jurassic Park.
Was it the same music playing in the end credits before it picks up? It was like that very like
At the very
cello-y, slow.
Yeah, I think
not
where it
quite the
goes-
Acolyte opening tune, but like very similar. Was that happening during the scene as well?
I think so. Yeah, part of it, because I remember the half step, the da-da-da. And that was after Kalnaka was discovered dead. And then it was also at the end of the end credits. But the beginning of the end credits were actually pretty quiet.
I
It
have
was
to
pretty
say that
sparse.
my feeling on a number of the cut to credits have been kind of odd, sound designed and musically.
Interesting.
Like, and I found this was no exception. Like it just kind of went silent. Like it cut silent. And I mean, it's also maybe just expectation, because as Star Wars fans, when we expect a circle, what's it called, wipe out, we expect we expect the soundtrack to kick in, and they haven't been doing that. They've been just letting everything just kind of fade abruptly or go silent. It's been been kind of an interesting aesthetic choice. It always feels like it. I feel like multiple episodes this season feel like, oh, it's over. Like that's the best way I can describe my reaction.
Like the ending isn't really like any, like it doesn't feel like a
not
good
even just
cliffhanger,
story wise,
like-
just how it's like all these elements put together, the sound, the editing, and everything. Like there's like, whoa, and then it's like silent.
Honestly, it kind of reminds me of, like, I kind of agree with the endings, at least the last 2 episodes, I think.
Agree, like they should have ended right there.
No, I
what you
mean, no, I agree that I'm not very picky about endings. I think it's fine to end anywhere. I don't really mind. But it does kind of remind me when I'm like writing a review and I can't really think of a conclusion, but I just really want to turn it in. And I kind of am like,
And now it's over.
and on like something, and I know it's not
Right,
that
it's a
strong
little
sometimes.
abrupt, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's abrupt. It's just not necessarily the synthesis, or like it's not really as punchy as some of the openings are, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine. I
And I
agree
think-
that
I
it's
think
kind of
some
like,
of it-
it's ended there.
Some of
Okay.
it does boil down to the score. I feel like in other shows at that moment, the score might lead us to that ending right there, right? And like, even if it's a hard cut right after something like that, you might see that the music might do something to help us feel like we've arrived at that. It's kind of like the Han Solo moment in Solo Star Wars Story when he's going to when he shoots what's his name at the end, Woody Harrelson. Beckett. And the score, remember when that was our scene, the score did something kind of, you're sensing it's building and building, but it's still abrupt, but it doesn't feel like almost like, what? It feels like, oh snap, it's over, right? And I didn't feel like, it's next week. I kind of felt like that didn't go down as smoothly as
It's like they took the little fade clip and just, instead of a nice tail or something, there's like zip.
something
Done.
like that. I'd have to
We're
go
out.
back and watch and figure out exactly why that left me feeling a little awkward at the end.
I do think last week's ending, I feel like it did actually go somewhere musically.
Yeah, I feel like last week I wasn't bothered by this as much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder. It almost feels like this show might work better in the released all at once format.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where like Andor had to sell us on what it was doing by releasing 3 episodes at once at the beginning to say like, because if you had only gotten the first episode, I don't know that it would have felt complete enough to hook people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this show similarly, I think it wouldn't be as easy as releasing a certain number of episodes to tie it in. I think it's almost like it's edited as if you're not going to wait a week in between each episode.
Sure, yeah.
I'm actually really surprised that they didn't do all 8 episodes at once, like Disney Plus with other shows, including a number of Marvel shows. Have just been releasing them all together. There has been
really?
a number
Marvel
that
shows have been doing that?
In
Yes.
general, I think that it's better to release it week by week so that we have a chance to talk about it.
I prefer it week by week. I'm just saying, like, with the trend that's been happening with certain
What
shows,
other shows have done that?
just all at once.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a.
Echo. I think Echo was
Oh,
all
Echo.
at once.
Oh, I didn't watch Echo.
And I didn't either. But,
Okay.
but yeah, that one was all at once. There's a couple that were all at once.
Got it.
Did
And
Loki-
Visions, of course, is released all at once.
Visions was released all at once.
But that's not a sequential story. But yeah, something. Yeah, anyway, so I just the ending of the, and there was a number of things I was scratching my head about just in general. I'd say that some turns of events that I was like, that's interesting. I thought maybe just the pacing I was a little bit.
There was a moment where I think May had a very quick change of heart that I'm very curious to hear more about.
Yeah,
that we
'cause
didn't
it
get a
felt
chance.
so-
I was actually really surprised by that and not sure whether to trust it. Like when she
Right?
was,
I thought it was going to be a trick so she could go off and do the thing by herself.
I kind of thought that too, but then
And-
like the message that her master sent, like discovering Kelnako dead was pretty like, oh shit.
Right.
Right.
Which I can feel like they're trying to play it off that like Kimir, it might be the master in disguise kind of a thing. I feel like they're trying to do the oh look, he wasn't there and he knew where he was going kind of a thing.
I don't think that they're doing that. I think that he is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think unambiguously.
Unambiguous.
Yeah.
It's okay because my bet is still on. It's going to be Coral.
Yeah.
It's going to be the master.
Yeah, I think it's Darth Maul, but
we're hoping that it's Darth Maul as a small child.
no, I think you're right, Andrew, and that's I guess I'm crossing my fingers that that's not the case.
Me
Really?
too. Yeah.
Well,
No,
because
no. I think that is. I think it's entirely appropriate.
Well, I think it's
And good.
appropriate. I
I
just
think it's
think
appropriate.
that
I just-
unfortunately they're telegraphing it a little bit too obviously.
I feel like that as well.
and
That's like saying that they telegraphed it too obviously that Palpatine was the Emperor. Or sorry,
no, I don't think that.
Well, we went in
because we already know he's the
but we
Emperor
went
later.
in knowing that at
No,
the first
no.
place.
I don't know that everybody did.
You mean the
Well,
senator?
Kids didn't, but anybody that read any extended universe things that knew the name Palpatine. knew
Right.
that.
So
Okay,
and we
sure.
can pick and we
You know what I
can.
mean?
So,
like-
so nerds knew.
No, but what I mean is there's no
But I mean
there's
the
no
peop-
other media that tells us this conclusion already. So I mean this is
Sure.
completely
I-
up in the air. Like
Totally.
they're telling me this story for the first time.
And we can pick apart many scenes across the entire Star Wars saga where we would forgive one thing over another thing that
For
we're
sure.
not forgiving that are
Sure,
similar.
sure. I'm not forgiving this one on the merits of something else. I'm forgiving this because I think it's good if that is what happens. I think.
I think that's good. I just think that the way that they're telling the story is making if that's supposed to be presented as a surprise and a reveal. I think the fact that we're able to guess it this earnestly, like
I think it's a
early-
surprise for the characters. I think that we're supposed to have the dramatic irony of realizing like, oh yeah, he is definitely the guy, and knowing that, like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
the tension worked for me because I was like,
It feels like it's teetering too far into being too obvious and acting like it's not too obvious for me to feel one way or the other. Like it doesn't feel committed to. If they were going to give us the dramatic irony of knowing that he already, they would have been more obvious with it, even more obvious than they are. Right now, it just feels like it's like they accidentally made it too obvious. That's how I'm feeling.
If that's what it ends up being.
Right. Like I mean,
feel
he's
like
so
I'm there at the
sketchy
same
when
time.
she's like, "Have you seen his face?" And he's like,
No.
You know I haven't.
think-
Hey,
I think-
look what's over there.
I'm gonna go find your water.
I
Yeah.
thought that scene was supposed to be the confirmation that
Right.
okay, so yes, he is definitely the guy.
I mean,
I think it could also I can see a possibility,
that's a
not
reach.
necessarily where it's Mother Coral, but
Mm-hmm.
where he just knows way more than he's letting up.
Right.
It could be. I mean,
and he's really interested in her finishing this,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
finishing it successfully.
and
you know?
like doing it the right. Yeah, doing
and
it
she
the right
did
way.
seem like she became suspicious of him.
She also called it his master.
They're both serving the same person.
Yeah.
At the same time, he also could be there primarily to report on her, primarily as someone to
Oh,
like
yeah.
ensure that she does what she's supposed to. So her suspicions could be due to
She did
that.
say he won't be able to find his way in the forest without a guide, and I did need you. So they
Right.
could be playing both angles here. They're presenting
Yeah.
both angles.
Did she set that trap? Is that what the
Yeah.
implication is?
Yeah.
So she's just got traps. Like it's like she's like traveling with like forest traps that she can rig up. on
something
I
trees.
just think
something
it was
she can
just
get a
rope.
Wookiee. Yeah.
It's just a rope. How does that work? Does it?
It's just a
You put a rope on the ground. How does it pull?
Former Boy Scout here.
yeah.
I'll show you how to set a trap
They
later.
have, they have like, they have like a human trapping badge. Is that-
The band batch goes to trapping
Yeah,
school.
we'll go to
And
trapping
that goes
school.
trapping.
Oh, no.
That's our like pre-episode activity next week.
Yeah.
All right, we're here in the woods.
Totally.
All right. Anyway, okay. All right. I'm just okay.
Actually, I think the episode was really consistent with being unsettling, and so I wasn't really bothered by the ending. I felt like it was just unsettling and unclear the whole time, and then it
Yeah, like,
kind
what's
of
going
ended
on?
like that. I was
I thought the costume design and the environment they set for the main villain was very effective, and I think they looked very spooky and scary, and I was very unsettled by that.
I am sad that we didn't actually get to see some combat with our Wookiee Jedi friend defending themselves.
Right.
Kind of thing. I'm sure we're going to see something in a flashback at some point with them in action, but it would have been very interesting to have May face off with Kelnaka.
Yeah.
How funny was it that our Vernestra or Master Rowe was like, you didn't tell me that there was a chance another one could survive. Master Soul's like, I saw her fall. No one survives that.
This is Star
Like a
Wars.
fall.
Yeah.
We
No
survived
one
getting cut in
survives a
half.
Somehow, May and Osha survived.
Somehow Manosha survived.
It's returned. Right.
So something that was pretty prominently musically was in the forest. We end up with our frame drums. Did we hear any marimbas? Usually there's like marimbas or bamboo instruments in forest
There was
scenes.
not. There was.
We got our drums and our
We
tambourines.
got some frame drum and tambourines. Quite nice. I'll have to go back and listen to see what time signature we were in. It felt like 4 with some syncopation on, but I
I think it was around 2150 as well.
Yeah.
so.
But I'll go back and let y'all
There's
know.
some cool sounds there.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
And the other part that really stuck out to me musically was also within the forest. It was in Kelnaka's, what did they call it? Domicile? In his hut, in his thing. It's so interesting that they
the
had
Wookiee Nook.
the Wookiee Nook. Yeah, he's in his Wookiee Nook in his relaxing forest retreat, and we had that little reveal of the witch's symbol on
Yeah.
the wall, and there was that little flash of vaguely Middle Eastern, but not quite scale that happens. That was kind of what they were going for in the last episode with the witch's music. Not quite Middle Eastern, not quite Indian, not quite all these things, but it's kind of like a culmination of whatever it was. But the little flair that they did for there, it sounded very much like the classic, this is the vaguely Middle Eastern scale. Very, very quickly kind of a thing. So it seems like that's the sound that they're going for to represent the thread, the cult of the thread, the cult of the witches, this particular sect of, what do they call it? A splinter order? I think that was more of a Jedi thing, of
splinter
course,
cell,
but like
I
a splinter kind of fact.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought that's so they're sticking to that choice, which is really interesting. So I'm curious how they're going to bring that out more in a future episode, because that was really just a tiny little flash on this one.
Oh, there was also there's a class bell at the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. I'm glad we know that now.
That's cute.
I like the Jedi, like they can't.
And then there's like reveille in the
They
morning.
have the Force. They can't like sense that class is over. They're like, oh, there's the bell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Don't pack up early, kids.
It's very anti Yoda on Dagobah style lesson. Like I feel like lessons with Yoda on Dagobah are over when he says he says no more no more will I teach you this today.
I always wonder what would happen next time with between. It's like, all right, we're done for the day. It's like, great. Wait, what do you want to do now? Yeah. It's just the two of them sitting there. What do you want to do now?
You want to just chill?
Play some bananagrams.
I wanted to say Yoda have a syllabus, but so how about the revelation that Jedi, for some reason, are all clamoring to learn Shriwook?
Right.
Like apparently, it also clear, like not unlike in American high schools, that there is a foreign language requirement required of all Jedi, and you get to opt into it. So, and apparently, what was it? What's his name? What's Himbo
Yord.
Jedi? York.
Yord.
So,
We learned
Yord.
capybara.
He what did he? Yeah, he learned capybara. What did he?
He learned
What was it called?
Tynan is what
Tynan.
the subtitles said.
Which is
TYNN.
a species from the exploits of Han Solo novels from like 1979.
Ooh, okay, deep cut.
Yeah.
They are kind of Hogwartsing the Jedi experience to a certain extent.
A little
Does anyone
bit.
feel
A
like
little.
there's like some Harry Potter vibes going
Well,
on. Everybody's got this like, matching uniforms. They all learn of
regarding the languages, though, like we don't see a lot of droids, so we don't have like protocol droids constantly.
That's a good point.
like,
So they have to learn
translating.
languages. Yeah.
And
same with like, I mean, they don't like have much knowledge of hyperspace routes.
Yeah.
Yet, right?
Huh.
Right? Wait, no, do they? I don't remember.
sort of.
Jackie,
They're just kind of starting to learn
Yeah.
hyperspace routes, so they do a lot of stuff manually.
I liked Jackie's little Google Translate thing she was using to speak to the locals, as she called them, on the planet. I thought that was a really interesting little. Someone didn't learn the language, which actually is also incredibly interesting if you think about it, because I'm sure shoot myself in the foot for saying this, but most of the time in my awareness of my experience of the shows that I have watched with Star Wars, almost everyone seems to understand each other no matter what language they're speaking in.
Yeah, there are exceptions. Luke does not understand Chewbacca,
Right.
but Obi-Wan Kenobi met Chewbacca before he met Han Solo, because Obi-Wan Kenobi is just the most default Jedi, and also scrambled to learn Shriwook when he was at the Jedi Temple, apparently.
Okay, there you go.
And Han
sense.
learned it in the academy or something, right? He spoke a little
Goes,
bit.
yeah, I
in
know
Solo.
a little.
I know
Yeah.
a little kind of a thing.
Which also, like, by the time Han knows it, it seems like it's a rare thing for a human being to know Shriwook, right? Like,
maybe
like, at least that's how he kind of like. Chewbacca seems confused by at Han in a solo Star Wars story that he can understand him.
I think Han Solo is the only person to ever speak Shriwook as not a Wookiee. Understand it, sure,
Yeah, but
but actually speak
Totally.
it. I think that's more the outside of the realm of
That's
Yeah.
right. I forgot.
experience.
That,
Yeah.
I have to say, I was a big fan of that particular gag in that movie.
Yeah, that was.
So back to Acolyte.
Yeah. Let's go back to
No, but really, but in the sense of like that translator, I thought was a very interesting addition, because I just personally haven't seen something like that. There was that moment in Book of Boba Fett where the the mayor of the town
Yeah.
was
Had a
speaking,
translator,
was
right?
speaking through a translator
Boba
kind of
Fett.
a thing, which
Yeah.
was interesting, because again, it's like
Right.
most of the time it feels like they just speak to each other in their languages and they just get it, kind of a thing.
So we hear the twin destiny theme. I heard it exactly once this episode. I don't know if I missed it any other time.
Where was it?
Last episode, it was there a lot. It was when Sol was talking to Osha. I can't remember what it was about, what they were talking about.
That's the one that goes na, da,
Yeah.
da, da, da,
Yeah.
The not Star Wars theme. Yes. To me,
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's kind of a sweet theme. And we've heard it in every episode so far. But yeah, only once.
There wasn't a whole lot of besides the things that we've mentioned, really crazy musical standouts. Like I felt like the last episode was incredibly musical to the point where it became a musical, and this episode it really kind of stood much more in the background this time. It was definitely just more of an incidental, nothing special kind of a score.
Lots of the Acolyte theme though.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I noticed that I wonder if they were calling on themes in this moment, but the moment when Saul and Osha are speaking to each other and Osha says, Osha is upset about her sister and the murdering, and and Saul says she is a murderer, but she is still your family, and it made a point to play very guilty vibes, low music, and then as soon as Osha kind of says, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Saul all of a sudden just looks very happy, and the music became immediately angelic and positive. And I thought that was interesting because it was almost like it didn't make Saul look great. I feel like it made it look like he got what he wanted.
I thought that was a weird conversation in general because it was like for a Jedi to be like, to a former Jedi, like, she's still your family. Like, to be so family, pushing the family thing felt a little weird.
It's
Soul
strange.
is the Sith, I think.
Yeah.
Soul gets on my nerves.
Because I think he was able to. I think he was able to project his own likeness in front and also fight himself. He's that powerful.
He turned around.
I
first.
honestly was thinking that the entire episode until that scene, and I was like,
That's
okay, well,
funny.
that's clearly not him because he's clearly not under the mask.
But going off of what you were saying, Christina, I feel like there was a number of scenes specifically with Soul where like there'd be one kind of music, there's something, and then we need there's a question asked to Soul, and it's like all of a sudden it becomes sentimental, angelic, and it just like turns immediately, and we just see kind of the weakness of Soul, where he is very attached, and he gets very attached to things.
Which Yord called out.
Which Yord did absolutely call out. That scene was interesting too. Yord's debrief or his explanation of what was going to happen. The music behind it was very pseudo comical. It had that like the pizzicato, the boom, boom, boom.
That was strange.
And they're like, again, I feel like there's a number of times they're trying to make comical scenes in this that are landing flat like the first two episodes a little bit.
Yeah,
a lot of the jokes were like, oh, you could have just cut that line out.
I don't know what the joke was in that scene. Like, Osha, are you paying attention to the briefing? And also, but the problem was there was audibly was not a briefing happening during that whole scene. Like, I didn't
Very
hear
comprehensive briefing, Yord.
Yeah, right.
Poor
It
Yord.
seemed surreal. It was like there was no briefing. Why are we?
I couldn't hear a briefing happening in that moment.
That's so good. I did feel a moment of being pulled out of the story there, and also in these scenes with Soul in particular.
With Soul and with Yord, I feel like
Yord.
I feel like poor Yord is like there to be the butt of all jokes every single scene he's in, kind of, or a way of being like, here's an idea. No, that idea is stupid. We're going to go with this idea.
I feel like
instead.
we need a tracker just to track our tracker.
That was funny.
Oh, I loved
that one was
howl.
objectively funny.
Yes, that was okay. I loved the howl of the tracker. That was very good.
Yeah,
The yowl.
I like that too.
The only thing I noted about it was that it started with kind of an R sound and then went O and ended with an ah. So it was like.
Ooh, do that again. That was good. That's great.
It really carried through the forest.
Maybe that's how. No, you know what? You know what? That's how the master found them, because little Basil was just screaming his head off, and they're like, "Well, doth that I hear in the distance? This must be where everyone
Basil
is there."
the Sith.
And maybe the Sith Lord also speaks Tynan.
Yeah.
Because apparently Yord could tell from that he found May
Yeah.
explicitly, which is not he found the place that we're going to.
He found May.
He found May.
Well, not necessarily. That's not necessarily what he said,
Yeah,
but
that's
that's
what.
It's
what
also
Yard said.
standard hunting animal protocol for the animal to produce different sounds based on what it found.
What was the thing that he
Sorry
sniffed
for
ahead of
saying
time?
A piece of fabric,
Kalnaka's-
From
presumably robes worn by Kalnaka.
by Kalnaka,
Yeah.
not something of May's.
Not May. It's a little
Yeah.
weird.
Well, they were trying to find Kalnaka. They didn't know where he was.
I'm just saying it's a little weird then that they were so certain it was May.
Right. So he must have said something because
Like,
Jord
I found
interpreted
May.
it
I
as
found right. He found May. He did say that. Yeah,
It's true.
which is interesting.
Well,
That-
yeah, he knew. He understood his.
yeah. That was Tynan for
I found
May.
May.
It's
I also
gonna
point
be
out
May.
that I guess my hunting comment was not implying that our character was not a person. And as an animal, I want to be clear that the character is a person.
Well, they were
person and my
definitely-
name
That
is Basil.
is a person.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's be real though.
Basil.
I mean, the archetype or the situation that scene is referring to is going out hunting with like a hunting
Right.
dog. Yes, he is a sentient being, and it's a different situation in this particular universe where like he's like a person. But it's clear that it's a Star Wars twist on the Bloodhound,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah.
So, which is interesting. It's interesting. Like I did think that the reveal that this rat that they've got with them, right, is their
Kappa.
hunting like guide, like because she's like, what are you with us? Like what is this thing? And then it turns out he's very important to the.
I did like the.
Yeah.
Why are we following the Basil? His name is Basil. He's hard. We also got some. Speaking about other otherworldly sounds, we had some umbra moths. I think
Yeah.
is what the subtitles called them, and they had a plethora of sounds: screeches, chitterings. I heard the little classic pterodactyl sound in the background, pterodactyl shrieking, and. All sorts of things. Very short-lived scene. I was hoping to see like a bunch of them go off, kind of a thing. I'm a big
Right.
fan of
Well-
like swarm sounds.
Well, remember they said this episode is called Day, and then they said it's going to be dark soon, as if that's a problem.
That's true.
regarding
They
the
might
moths.
they might come out at night.
I think that in the next episode, with any luck, we're gonna have swarming moths.
Hey.
Swarming moths.
With any
Well,
luck.
they're gonna-
And then we'll get like Night on Bald Mountain.
Well, they'll
strains.
definitely need the Bad Batch for that, I think, because the Bad Batch's number one enemy are animals.
Any kind of creature, they will find you.
I want to hear the beating of the moth wings and the force push in close proximity
To one
in a
another.
battle, so that we can gauge how intense is this force sound in comparison to the batting of a monster moth.
Because they could be very
Which we
similarly.
all know what that sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
I mean, I do
yeah,
think
yeah,
that the
yeah.
forest itself had a lot of sounds, like a lot of wildlife
Yes.
ambiance.
I also loved the colors in the forest, by the way.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we put a little bit of a prediction hat on or a
Sure.
speculation?
Yeah,
hat?
we are 4 minutes over a half hour.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up with
So
predictions.
yes, let's do some predictions.
So, one thing the more I think about it, I'm like, why was the Sith Lord there? Like, why was he following Osha on
And are
her
they a Sith?
quest and doing part of her job for her for some
Do you
reason?
mean May?
Sorry, yes, I do mean May. Yes. So
And note that when he did his job, he did not kill without a weapon.
right, he killed her. He killed with a lightsaber. That was a lightsaber slash, right?
Right.
It's because
So-
Siths love scheming.
Yeah. What does he
Siths
gain from
love
that?
scheming.
Does he gain getting all the Jedi in one place, maybe potentially? So yeah, do we have?
I think that he independently wants
Them dead.
Wants these 4 Jedi dead.
Okay.
Like that. It's
not
May-
just to
it's
teach
May's
May a
j-
lesson.
Right. It's May's journey, but I think that he also, and so I think when he's like, May's like, I'm gonna betray him now. He's like, well,
No,
I
I want
guess
them dead.
I believe that.
Huh.
You know, if he believes that he's about to be betrayed, then he's just like, well, I better cash it all in.
Which is why in our prediction hats, I'm leaning more towards the idea that our Dark Master is Coral.
Right.
Because there's a personal vendetta there. And it's not just, let's go, I want them dead, but I'm going to get May to do it so that...
Yeah, we wouldn't know
You
them
know.
if it was,
Because May right now is the only one of that coven that has those powers.
if it is the dude from The Good Place, we don't really have a good motivation for him.
Right.
Not yet.
I mean, not yet, well, unless we get some backstory on him. But we'd have to understand what his skin in the game is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will be disappointed if it turns out to be just a revenge situation in any context. Or maybe not in any context, but in an immediate, like, oh, these 4 Jedi did something bad to me. I'm going to specifically kill them.
Mm-hmm.
I will be really excited if it's a really multi-level plot where somehow this Sith was, like, monitoring, say, like, new Jedi who came in and was like, oh, I discovered these, like, twins. And I can totally manipulate them, and they don't know that each one is alive. And I'm going to put them in the same place so that they have to go through this dark situation where they like hate each other, and there's so much potential. Like, I want something really nasty.
Maybe,
I would love it to be deeply. I would love it to be a character that we have not seen, we do not know, and it's just an outside force that comes in.
Maybe he like all the Sith is really fascinated by the Force dyad of this power of 2.
He wants to kidnap Osha and take them both.
Yeah, he wants
'em both.
he wants both
why
of
she
them,
got
and then
flown.
get them to give him their life force.
Which links
So
to Rey in The Rise of Skywalker
For sure.
with "I am all the Jedi, the power of many." It makes it comes back.
I don't know if this was on purpose. Maybe I missed something earlier.
It's for you, JJ.
But and this is something for the viewers they won't know. But what movie was on screen before we switched over to the show?
Oh, the Parent
Trap.
The Parent Trap. This show is just a Star Wars Parent Trap.
Oh yeah, it's their dad.
It's like their dad.
Their
No,
dad
but
is
the reveal is that it's going to be Lindsay Lohan under the helmet. It's
Yeah.
going to be great.
Oh.
Return to form.
Well, that's
that has a
interesting.
British accent.
I mean, let's ask ourselves a question. Say that is what's her name? It's Reef. What's her name? The person you think it's going to be?
Vernestra? Oh.
Coral.
Coral.
Yeah, Reef.
So so if it's her, right? Why, if she's found? I mean, other than having a big scheme, you gotta imagine like she finds May for the first time, and instead of like, forging a relationship with her long lost child from this traumatic event and being like, hey, like she decides to then don a mystique mask and
Totally.
like scheme and trick her, like
So
what I
there's
mean? Like,
there's more to my theory is that Coral was infiltrating this coven of witches all along
oh, interesting.
from the very beginning
As a Sith,
and trying to discover the
And-
power of how to create life.
Right, which is what
volunteered to be the
Darth
one to
Plagueis
carry
can
the
do.
twins, and then everything was going wrong because she was going to lose one of them. That's my big
I do like that.
conspiracy right
Wow.
now.
She
That's
did
my-
think
I
that
don't
they
think
needed
so.
to be
I don't
raised
like
with a
that.
little harder hand.
That's true.
She was very clear about how.
an
But
open.
I think that
open
variation
hand,
could
closed
exist
fist.
within the coven.
Oh, totally. No, like this is just the speculation. This is what
Yeah,
I
this-
feel. This is
yeah.
how I'm making it work in my head canon.
She would look good in the outfit. Or
About-
Coral. I think
about
Coral.
the
I could
same height.
see Coral in that outfit.
well, maybe
Like,
she was.
if she got to choose her own armor.
Maybe she was badly.
Are they real
burned
teeth?
in the fire or whatever?
The
and so
jewels?
she's
Wears a
covering-
mask.
Wearing a mask or something.
Did the mask have something blinking on it?
Doesn't it have a zipper over the mouth?
No, I thought it was just teeth. It was like smiling.
I thought it was kind of
creepy
like
smile.
grills.
It looked like two either grills or like pipes running top and bottom.
Oh,
And
okay.
it
Like a
did have
football.
It looked like
very
something out of
shiny
Saw.
metallic,
If
like-
it was a zipper, it'd be a little bit
Not in Star Wars.
NC-17 for this show.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyway.
I
thought
don't
you
know.
were
Darth
making a
Vader wears a
Coraline
lot of
joke.
leather.
Oh, okay.
do you think it's? Do you think
I
any
said
of
Darth Vader wears a lot of leather.
Yeah. He wants something that says "Daddy likes leather" on it, right?
Do you think it's
Okay.
just for concealment, or do you think it's also like life support to some extent?
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
I think
It
it's
looks
to be
like a.
spooky when you're in the
It looks
dark.
like a creepy ass smile to me.
Yeah, it's the first Sith mask that has like a creepy horror smile on it, which is interesting.
I am
think
digging
that's
the
good.
horror vibes of
No, it's
like
great, really
as a
good.
horror fan. This whole show, the horror vibes. I like it.
It's
It's
very
nice. It is true that the recent series have really enjoyed showcasing different masked armors and masks and things like that are cultural choices as
Yeah.
well. That's like popular nowadays. You know, very merchable.
Yeah.
Merchable.
Good old merch.
Well, okay, we got a lot of Acolyte theme. The opening title was also Acolyte theme, but it's a bit different than the last one still. Yeah. I guess a re-listen will reveal if there's any more themey stuff. But this felt a lot more, like everyone is saying,
Background
a little bit
score.
more background.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kiadi Mundi was there. Young
Right.
Is that who that actually was?
It said in the end credits.
And what
that
about
somebody-
Plo Koon? We haven't talked about him. Wasn't he there?
So he wasn't listed in the credits, but I
could be.
believe
Totally
it was
there.
him.
And
Yeah.
he was just like every time he was on screen, he was like in the background looking the opposite way of like where everybody was looking. He was just vibing by himself. Like
Yeah.
go and
Wouldn't
watch his
you?
scenes. It's like everybody's looking this way and he's just like in the background. Like this. and
I think he was having conversations with other Jedi.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or just chilling, you know? Or maybe he's just he might have just been super baked. But
He was communing with the Force.
yeah, man. that's
Communing with the
Communing with the Force. I didn't realize that was actually big old Kiadi Mundi, like Jedi Council stooge Kiadi Mundi.
But he wasn't part of the council. He was like, we need to alert the council. He's not on the council yet.
Oh yeah, not
He's
yet.
a young man.
Not yet.
I
I,
want
I
to-
love how he's still a stooge for the council.
Oh yeah.
Like even before, because like in the movies he's basically just like a bootlicker, you know, for the Jedi.
Because
You
he
know?
was raised during the Stooge era. They are so bootlicky in this
Yeah.
one. And they're very
Yeah.
I also want to point out Vernestra Rowe's character.
Yeah.
Who she has such a strong character in the series, but it's not clear how her character might fit into grander schemes. And I would be interested to know if there's someone who has a vendetta against Vernestra Rowe and wants to just make her life hard by killing as many and so they're like, oh, let me like
It
select
seems very
people
implied
who
with their conversation that she knows more.
Right?
And they like kind of laid it on a little, especially when they like shot back to the other two Jedi that were talking in that thing, and they kind of gave the, ooh, what are they talking about? Oh, they're suspiciously looking over to the conversation kind of a thing.
Huh.
It feels like the conspiracy is just going to get deeper and deeper, and I'm kind of hoping if multi-level, maybe there is both forces working against this coven kind of a thing, and there's a little bit more inside. Because even she was like,
Inside
why didn't you
baseball.
tell me that the other one could have survived? It's like, I didn't think to tell you that because I thought she died. He's like, she seemed a little bit more like,
You didn't get
why
the full
didn't you
story.
why didn't you tell? Like, you know, kind of a thing. Like,
I
it's
would-
a bigger deal.
Yeah.
That she was
Very
involved in somehow.
It's very interesting that Sol is the only one that just remained with the Jedi. I didn't realize that
Kalnaka.
Force Baca
Chewbacca.
was exiled. I didn't realize that. Like that's when we were watching the show and I was like,
Yeah.
what? They can't find him? Don't they know where I thought he was just at a Jedi outpost
Right,
on this
right.
planet. I didn't realize he was actually here to hide. So really, Sol's the only one on that stuck around and somehow didn't like recuse himself because of this event. So
Well,
I'm
Andara.
Well, Andara was there. She was at an outpost.
Oh, you're right.
Trinity
Okay,
in the
sorry.
beginning.
Never mind. Sorry.
And technically, the other guy just isolated himself in his head.
Okay.
Right, but I think isolating himself in his head is kind of similar to what Kalnaka.
Yeah,
may
so
have
something
done.
about what those two did and what Andara and Sol didn't do.
I mean, as of the last episode, I think maybe it was this episode. The conversation Osha has with Soul, she's like, he has to keep telling himself like, I've made peace with what happened.
Yeah.
And stuff. So he's gone through his own journey. It seems.
Yeah, Andara didn't seem to care at all.
Anakin, what do you think?
I think they're hinting pretty hard that Sol has a huge secret. Is that
Yeah.
obvious? Like
Yeah.
they're hinting very hard that he has a huge secret and it's very interesting and selfish of him to like not just tell Osha whatever that secret is, and
Right.
not just tell Vernestra Rowe whatever that secret is.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of be one of the big issues is him. I mean, it's just that's really the thing that annoys me the most about his character. And speaking of characters, also, I'm not convinced about the portrayal of Vernestra Rowe's character. I did not see her. So in the scene you were just talking about where she said, "Why didn't you tell me?" The issue that I see with that line is that I don't think Vernestra Rowe would assume what Saul was keeping from her. I think she would be cleverer and more in tune and maybe say something like, "What are you not saying?" Or because as soon as you accuse someone of something that's off base, you immediately lose the opportunity to then find out what the information actually is.
Either that or she's like under extreme stress or something.
Yes.
Because I also like, I was going to say, like, I would like to see more of Vernestra's inner world in this. If we're going to keep having just Vernestra be this device
Right.
of the hard ass.
Her character doesn't get to have much nuance in this case, unless she does, because it is true that like that person who sees further than everyone else can see is often ostracized.
Yeah.
And nobody believes them or understands them or is able to meet them where they're at because they are seeing things that other people just aren't seeing.
Or fans like think that they're just kind of annoying. Like I like Mace Windu used to get a really bad rap for being kind of, I don't know, a hard ass as well. But then like, you know, in the book, like in Shatterpoint and the Rend of the Sith novelization, you learn more about his like, actually his ability to see shatter points and like how he was kind of unfairly dunked on, I guess. And Vernestra might actually have information that no one else has. And I kind of would like to see, if not like explicitly, I just want to know, I just want a little bit more of a hint of her character, because the books do give her, she's one of the best characters in the High Republic, I think.
She's awesome. Hey, do we know if this is a one-time series or if this is a first season?
I don't think we know.
We don't know.
I think they're trying for multiple.
Trying for multiple seasons?
I'm sure we'll see how it goes by the end of this.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully they don't leave it on a cliffhanger.
Speaking of cliffhangers,
Yeah. This
Off.
is the Acolyte. No one wants to do the other part.
I don't.
It's too low.
I don't know this. I don't know this theme well enough.
Yeah, it's okay.
Next
We'll teach
time.
you. We'll teach you.
Okay.
we'll
Good
keep
night.
practicing.
Yeah.
That was a blind sight read. Don't judge us.